guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. We're gonna continue the red zone no item challenge. Dokkan is so dead right now that I actually will probably be able to, I'll have plenty of time at the start of November here to catch up. I'll be able to knock these out, boom, 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 get a lot of these done. Because, I mean, these do take quite a bit of time, especially if there's tough fights. Now, we are doing Bardock's team, right? So we have Storied Figures and Goku's family to work with here for the movie side of things. This was very, I think I beat every stage in one try, I think. And it really does go to show because several of these fights, I had just abysmal opening rotations, and it's like, we still just clear it, right? Like, it's just, the thing about these red zone difficulty stages is, you know, people were concerned about power creep, but, I mean, they have, Dokkan, in all of 2022, these red zone, like, difficulty stages have been about the same level, right? Like, Cell Max is certainly tougher, but it's not 8 times harder than Broly or Omega or one of these tough fights, right? Like, it's still really tough. And we just have so many characters to work with now that a lot of these fights are just very, very minuscule in difficulty compared to what they used to be, right? This is the Turles fight. There's nothing he could do. That's it. This fight with, like, this team, it's, like, damn near impossible to lose. Alright, next we're moving on to the Lord Slug fight. Again, there's not really too much we could do to lose. You know, Lord Slug can't even really catch Bardock or anything like that. And this is, like, worst case scenario. Double tech Bardock turn 1 is so bad. Because Bardock, remember, gets the Scouter for the first 5 turns. So if we have both Bardocks turn 1, that means we only have the Scouter for the first 5 turns. If we would have a Bardock in slot 7 on turn 3 or in the second turn, we could have our Scouter up to either turn 6 or turn 7. So, listen, I really need, we need to not get Bardock right immediately, like, turn 1. Several of these runs do have this, but I, just keep playing it out, and we do win pretty easily a lot of these fights, right? Looking at some of the options that we have on the team here, it's pretty clear. I mean, in these earlier fights, it doesn't really matter too much what we bring, right? We could just bring several of the same units we're typically using in these big runs, right? Carnival Goku, Tech God Goku, right? That physical Super Saiyan Bardock. It's funny, his details came out, everyone was saying he was busted. Then I saw a lot of people try and walk it back and say, oh, he's not actually that good. Nah, this physical Super Saiyan Bardock is a demon, dude. He is really good on these teams. The fact that his support is just unconditional, all allies, and he's got like the Garden and stuff like that. That Bardock has a decent link set. I think that physical Bardock is really able to put in quite a bit of work, right? In this run, we're using a bunch of Team Bardock allies, which means we get Bardock's active skill for free, too, right? If we're using, you know, Toro, Fasha, and Bardock, we get that active skill out on turn 3, and it really can do a lot of damage and allow us to just quickly tear through these weaker fights. Alright, next, we're moving on to the cooler fight. Now, this, of course, is the weaker cooler fight, right? Remember that there's 2 red zone stages centered around this cooler movie right here. This one, of course, is much weaker than the very difficult Int Final Form cooler one. Not really too much to say about this fight either, right? Like, it's really only Bojack, Janemba, and Broly that could challenge this team. These earlier fights are just a little too weak. Remember that Fasha? She's obviously really good, right? Like, once she gets hit 5 times with her guard up, her stats will be very, very high. You know, she can guard for the first couple of turns, which can really allow us to get set up properly, which, of course, is very, very good, right? And also remember that Tech Bardock does build up, too, right? It's very important to remember that Tech Bardock does build up as he super attacks. Every super attack Tech Bardock does give him 40% attack and defense, right? And he builds up a max of 120%. Another reason why double Tech Bardock turn 1 is really bad. I actually use the STR free-to-play EZA Bardock. He can be pretty good. If you have a bunch of Team Bardock allies, right, he could have a high level of damage reduction. I just felt like he was a decent STR unit to bring to this fight, since the final phase cooler is, of course, physical, right? Like, I felt like that STR Bardock would be able to help us get some work done, right? So, there's that. Not much to say with the cooler fight, right? Like, we're just gonna bully him. A lot of these earlier fights, we just bully these bosses. now we're moving on to Android 13. Remember that Android 13? This is probably one of the worst designed red zone fights. Maybe Dokkan. Oh, another turn with double Bardock turn 1, huh? But maybe Dokkan, they think like I do, which is that dodge is like the strongest thing in the game. So by having a boss that cancels dodge, they're like, all right, let's not go too crazy, I guess, for this fight, is what they were thinking. But the fact that Android 13 is AGL in both phases just means that this fight is not tough, right? And even 14 and 15 here are not, neither of them are int to counteract your tech units. So you really, most of the time, just want to jump into this fight running a full tech lineup. There's no reason not to. So because of that, I actually felt confident I could bust out DOKKANFEST Pan. Remember that DOKKANFEST Pan, as far as like, she's one of the strongest offensive characters in the game, right? I'm not really too impressed with her besides just doing damage. That's when she's good. If you're going to use Pan, you want to use her around getting her active skill off, which I think is like the most damaging attack in the game. Seems stronger even than the 7th anniversary LR's attacks and all this stuff, right? So that's why we brought the tech full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He definitely can put in work as well. But again, it's the same thing, right? He's a character that wants like Saiyan Roar and GT and stuff like that up. I brought him and Pan hoping that I would be able to maybe get them on a rotation together early, and we could, finish Android 13 off with Pan's active skill. She could probably one-shot Android 13 or something, but we don't actually get to do that, right? We ended up with Pan and Super Saiyan 4 Goku on different rotations, and we're just gonna do too much damage to Android 13, so we don't even get the necessary attacks in for Pan to be able to use her active skill, but she still does do really impressive damage throughout the fight, right? So there's the Android 13 fight. Another fight that's really not that tough. We just bring a full tech lineup, and there's not really too much he could do, right? It's just that simple. This fight was pretty badly designed. Again, I think this base Android 13 here, he probably should be int. I think he probably should. That would make this fight much tougher if you'd have to go through this an int boss right here. But it is what it is, man. Now, this is the fight where I feel like it really does show just how far we've come with how many good characters I've released this year. So here we are going up against Bojack, right? And as you guys can see, we got, you know, the worst possible opening rotation right here. Double Bardock turn 1. This does cause us to get disintegrated. There's not really anything I could have done, right? This is just, you start the event and you get cupped. That's it. But we win this. Like, this is a win against Bojack, who, Bojack is still, you know, one of the 10 hardest fights in the game, for sure. And we're able to come back and we actually beat Bojack. So the reason for this, of course, is Carnival Goku, who is just utterly ridiculous with how he's designed. I really wish, you know, I see, sometimes I see downplay for him. I guess it's not really too common. But he has a combo of revive, defensive stacking, and guard. That is just, like, unbelievable, right? Like, the only character I would outright say is better than him is Vegeta and Trunks. Just what these characters bring to the table, like, defensively, is just, while being these top-tier units that are doing insane damage, having good links, having crazy active skills, it's just, like, Carnival Goku and Vegeta and Trunks are so nuts, right? Now, we get the revive off. The revive, of course, being very helpful, because this is going to heal us, right? What is Goku? I think Goku heals 58% HP when he revives. But it's enough, right, to, you know, sort of make up for that opening turn disaster. Now, we bring in Super Saiyan 3 Bardock into this fight. I've been pleasantly impressed with Super Saiyan 3 Bardock. I think perhaps at times maybe I was a bit too harsh on him. He does put in work in this fight. And if you're going to bring him against Tech Bojack, Cell Max, Full Power Frieza, he can do good. This in Super Saiyan 3 Bardock. Right? At the very least, I just need these characters to be competent with type advantage, right? And that's what this guy does. This guy is definitely very solid here in this fight against Bojack. And in the toughest phase, he, of course, will have type advantage. Remember that Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, of course, is just a much different beast entirely if you have, like, God Goku on the team, right? He does need that power beyond. I feel like that was shitty design they gave him. Power beyond Super Saiyan is bad, because it's like, I feel like you want to use that Bardock with these Bardock setups, right? Which none of the other Bardocks, except for the STR Super Saiyan 2 one, who's okay, but he's not top tier like the physical Bardock or Tech Bardock right here. So because of that, it's like, you know, another Bardock is probably not going to activate that condition for Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, right? The only one that could is the STR Super Saiyan 2 one again, but he's not on this level that these other Bardocks are on. But I was pretty impressed that we actually came back from that, right? With how horrible we couldn't, like, we pretty much could not have gotten a worse opening rotation than we did, right? Like, there's literally nothing I could have done. And then we just completely come back. It's just like 200% teams at the start of the year couldn't do this, but a lot of it was because we, you know, didn't have all these busted units that came out this year. This is why, like, you know, people, you know, are going to be, like, shell-shocked, oh my god, when, you know, tougher events come out. But, I mean, we do need it. We're ready for it already, right? I think Dokkan did a good job of really setting a very difficult standard of Red Zone. But then they haven't really jumped way past it in, you know, 10 months since. Right, they've kind of kept it at the same level, and then now we just have all these characters capable of it. So I don't think 8th Anniversary Power Creep will be as big as 7th Anniversary Power Creep, but, I mean, we are ready for tougher events, no doubt about it, right? Because we go into these fights used to be demons, very difficult no-item runs, even with the best teams in the game, strongest characters in the game. Now it's just casual, right? Worst opening possible luck you could get, easy win, right? Crazy. Alright, so now we're moving on to Janemba, and it really is funny how busted Bardock's leader skill is, right? This is the first run where I'm using DOKKANFEST Kid Goku, who's like the best character on this team. I guess we are using Carnival Goku, right? But like Kid Goku is like the second best character under this like leader skill that Bardock has. This is the first time we're busting him out. Remember that Kid Goku is good in basically every situation, right? Just a ridiculously busted character. Like it's insane how good he is. Kid Goku does work extra well too, with Bardock, because remember Bardock, the Bardock's rainbow orb changing will run out after the 5 turns, right? So, you know, then Kid Goku's still creating rainbow orbs that Bardock can still be good. It's just very, very helpful. I don't know that there's really too much to talk about here with this Janemba fight, right? The Janemba fight can be a bit... This is kind of like a Wicked Bloodline Red Zone style fight where there's just 2 health bars, there's 2 phases, right? Like right? So because of that, this means this really can be a quicker fight for us to go through. I guess, like, we could have trouble if Int Janemba would catch Tech Bardock, but it's like Int Janemba is pretty close to the start of the fight, right? Like, we'll probably have the Scouter up while fighting Int Janemba, so this doesn't really, like this doesn't become some insurmountable challenge, or, oh my god, it's so nasty, or anything like that. Like, we're able to come in here, and we're able to just dominate, right? Tech Bardock, giving the Scouter just knowing where enemy super attacks are for most of the fight is very good, right? Like, even if Bardock's individual offensive and defensive performance sometimes isn't up to par with other top 200% lead characters, remember, Bardock is controlling these fights, right? Like, we have the Scout up for so much of these fights. Yeah, you know, during the most crucial portion, the ending of the fight, we don't have the Scout up anymore, but it really does help quite a bit. I am impressed. I think Bardock is great. He is to me a very, very impressive character. But here's the Janemba fight, right? Again, I'm pretty sure we did every single one of these fights in one try. Just goes to show the strength of Bardock, the strength of his Scouter, and then, of course, I mean, obviously, the strength of the Goku family team, right? Duh. Alright guys, now we're moving on to the Broly fight, still one of the hardest fights in the game. I would probably say this is the second toughest fight. Cell Max is, it's just hard to sort of discount. I wasn't paying attention right there. 5 seconds into the run, I have to do a reset because I wasn't really paying attention. Like, Cell Max, he just hits so hard that it's like you can't really ignore how crazy his strength level is, right? Which is why I would probably still say it's like the toughest fight, but I do think it really matters the fact that you can dodge against Cell Max, but you can't dodge here against Broly. Dodging really is the strongest thing you can do. That was also a misplay right there. I wasn't, not my best performance at the start of this fight, because I could have super attacked and sealed Broly right there, which would have saved us damage. It doesn't matter, right? Like, okay, for the Broly fight, all right, a lot of times when I'm sitting down to do these no items, these days, I'm really more so just worried about AoE Broly, right? Because I typically am building these teams geared more towards, you know, tech characters to survive AGL Broly anyway, right? Like, DOKKANFEST Kid Goku could be caught by AGL Broly and we could die. Or we could have, you know, tons of rainbow orbs, you know, he gets lots of damage reduction, we could survive. There's a couple different factors that might happen against some of these tough bosses, but it's really, the problem for this fight is Broly's AoE phase combined with the inability to dodge it is what makes this fight so tough to get through. And when I'm thinking of no iteming these fights with these teams, this is the fight I worry the most about, because it's like you can get super good RNG, right? Like, you could jump in and Broly decides not to super attack with the AoE his first turn, and then the super attack is like the last attack of the second turn. And oftentimes AoE Broly just doesn't have enough HP compared to some of these other bigger bosses. So we could go in here and we could completely cook him, right? Before he'd even have a chance to get the AoE off, which could be good. Now, let's take a look here. So, I didn't actually bring, like, Fasha, right? I didn't bring Fasha and I did not bring Tora. So Bardock will not have the easy active skills. That certainly could be a good way to go about it, right? Fasha would get completely cooked by AoE Broly's super. But Fasha could probably tank, like, she'd be able to tank his normals, provided she was correctly built up, right? And then Fasha would be okay against AGL Broly's normals as well. But again, a super attack would kill Fasha right there. And then the Int Tora, I feel like dodge is an important part of his kit, and I gave him full dodge. So in a fight where dodge is canceled, I didn't want to bring him either, right? Tora does have some minor damage reduction built in, but I feel like just giving that unit full dodge and, you know, trying to hope that they're going to dodge is probably the best way to go about it. So I didn't bring Fasha or Tora to this. I felt much more comfortable with, like, Tech Gohan, who, you know, we make sure to get him his super attack. So the thing with Tech Gohan is, remember, in this level of fight, he does need to get his super attacks in, right? Like, it's not, like, super free where he's just double-digit tanking everything. We do have to make sure he's still getting those super attacks in to build up that defense. And then, of course, you know, we get to AoE Broly, he's not going to take almost anything. And AGL Broly, he's also not going to take almost anything, right? It's very, very important to properly get the stacks in for Gohan. So we come in here, and, you know, we just get a good turn like this, right? This is where we could see Physical Bardock being really good, too, right? Is, like, Physical Bardock, the way he works, he needs to take 2 hits to be full defense, right? Physical Bardock gets hit the first time, that activates his guard. He gets hit a second time, and that gives him an extra 30% defense for the turn. So it's like a turn like this, like what Broly is going to do is AoE, and he's going to do like 80k damage to the rotation or something like that. We have God Goku, Carnival Goku, and Physical Bardock. And it's like, remember, this Physical Bardock able to survive a rotation like this, and Physical Bardock is also supporting too. So we saw a really good attack stat from Carnival Goku, right? So there's that first damage, but then boom. So he took, what, 50... So that was 50k from that normal. Then he takes 86k from the AoE, right? That, like, that's pretty good. I do like this Physical Bardock quite a bit. I think he is actually really quite good. But there we go. There is our no item run. through all of the movie Red Zone, including Broly, who of course is very tough. Right now, Dokkan is very, very dead, so I'll be able to finish these up. I actually got to finish out the Gammas. There's quite a few. The Wicked Bloodline ones, of course, are still tough. A lot of those I'm still working through, but I'll sort of catch up and get most of these Red Zone no-item runs done. So let me know what you guys think of DOKKANFEST Tech Bardock. I thought he performed very well, and overall, he's a very good unit. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.